Dawn French, are you a good driver?
I'm the most excellent driver that you will ever meet. I'm better than anyone else, and that's a fact.
Do other people think you're a good driver?
I don't let other people have much of a say. Certainly when my daughter was very small, I didn't even filter my manners when it came to allowing other people to drive. I just felt like the safest and the best, and I thought I should be the driver, and I still think that now that she's 25 years old. Sorry to sound smug. Sorry to boast, but it's just a fact.
Did you pass your driving test first time?
No. No, the second time. I think I was very nervous the first time, and also tried to crack jokes, which was really not a good idea. I had quite a grumpy man, because you used to have to read the registration number on the car at the other side of the car park, and he said, OK, please read that registration on that car, and I was going, what car? Oh, can't see a car. I thought that was funny. And he really didn't know, and it went downhill from there.
My first driving test, I crashed the car.
Did you? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Did you fail?
You know the brilliant thing? Not immediately. He got into the driver's seat. He said, I think I should take over from here. I'll drive us back to the test centre. And when we got back to the test centre, he did the road signs. You know you got tested on the road signs. So he was showing me road signs. I said, I crashed the car. Surely I failed.
What did you crash the car into?
Some roadworks. Let's talk about your first car. You were 17 and it was a Morris Minor.
The Morris Minor 1000 series is a roomy two-door saloon with 4-speed manual transmission and 1.1-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder motor. With a top speed of 74 miles per hour, the Morris Minor is more about practicality than pizzazz, but she's well within the budget of the average working man. She can do 0 to 50 in 16 seconds, and the cornering is terrific.
I concur with all of that.
Do you remember the day you got that car?
Yes, I do. It was my 17th birthday, and it came with a bow around it. I mean, it was a second-hand car, and it was a little black Morris Minor, so I nicknamed it The Bomb, and I thought that that would be great to paint The Bomb on the back of it.
You've written about going to quite a posh boarding school.
Yeah.
And it being the sort of place where girls got new cars on their 17th birthday.
Yeah.
Was there a big distinction? Did people notice you didn't have a new car?
Yes, that's why I had to make it a fun car by painting The Bomb on the back of it. It had to be a kind of character car. I mean, I was at boarding school because my dad was in the RAF. And the RAF pay for you to go to boarding school so that you have some kind of, consistency in your education. But it means that as a forces kid, you're at boarding school with a lot of quite posh or wealthy kids. I did notice when I went to stay at other people's houses that they had sinks in the bedroom. That was amazing to me. And I drove lots of other people because I'm not really, and still to this day, I'm not a big drinker. So I was always the good kind of taxi.
What sort of places? Where were you taking them?
I was taking them to places like the OPM Club, which was the old Plymothian Manamedians Club, which was the kind of disco that was associated with my brother's school. And that's where we got to meet boys on a Saturday night.
Did you do a lot of snogging in your own car? I know you're a fan of snogging.
I'm a huge fan of snogging. And, yes, a car is a great place to do snogging because, obviously, you shouldn't be taking boys back to snog in your own house, should you, when you're living with your parents. So the car would be where things would get a little bit racy.
I know.
Yes, I have done upstairs outsideys. In a car. Yes, I have. But that's as far as I've gone in a car.
I know that we've actually got quite a few Morris Minor drivers in the audience tonight. So where is Amanda Hermiston? You've been a passenger in a Morris Minor. You haven't driven one. What do you remember about being a passenger?
Well, my dad actually converted the whole thing into a caravan tent when we were little, and it was the only way we could afford to go to the seaside. So the passenger doors were converted into crockery cupboards where everything was kept, and The back seats were bedroom number 1 and the front seats were bedroom number 2. And
how many of you were there?
there was my brother and sister, myself, my mum and my dad.
That's quite a lot.
That sounds like quite a fun holiday, I think. Where is Val Woods?
Oh, hi. Well, I remember my dad had a Morris Minor, and I remember going on long journeys and him going outside with the tape because bits had fallen off. And also on a long journey, the lights going and us having to follow another car that actually had the lights on.
That's brilliant. I sort of imagine, Dawn, with your father being in the RAF, that he was rather good with machines and would have encouraged you to look after them. And
he certainly did teach me how to do various things with the car. I knew how to put air in the tyres. I knew where to put the oil.
We both lost our fathers. Your father died when you were very young, only 19. And obviously, we idolise them in the memory because they're not here anymore. But also, I do feel like men really did used to know about machines in a way that they don't now.
Yeah, I think that's right. Although my brother seems to know quite a lot. And when I told my brother I was going to come and talk about cars with you, it's the first time he's been interested in my career for 30 years.
Your parents' car was a Rover 2000. Very interesting car.
The Rover 2000, aka the P6, is the iconic sports saloon of a generation. Launched in 1963, this is a car so radical that she redefined the concept of luxury motoring. Thanks to a high-revving engine and direct overhead camshaft arrangement, the 2-litre twin-carb version could hit 115 miles per hour for the affordability of a much smaller car. Self-cancelling indicators, specifically engineered crumple zones, and a self-filling 40-mile reserve petrol tank are just some of the innovations that this groundbreaking car brought to the motor industry.
What are your main memories of family car trips when you were younger?
I don't know why, but my mother thought fresh air was an enemy. And that we might get ill if she allowed fresh air into the car. So windows tightly shut, parents chain smoking, 60 a day at least each, and then my father not being able to see out of the car, so putting the windscreen wipers on. And I think it was my brother that in the end had to point out it was the problem was inside the car, not outside the car.
Did you get on well with your brother? Was it sort of fun in the back seat with him, or did you fight?
No, fighting at all time. And in fact, to this day, I cannot sit next to my brother without hurting him. It's very disconcerting for our children, who are in their 20s now, to witness two old people wrestling, because we will go virtually to the death.
Let's jump to, you're 21 years old. You've moved on to a Ford Cortina Mark 1.
A mid-sized car to match the mood of the moment, the Ford Cortina is named after the Italian ski resort of Cortina d'Ampezzo, giving this family runabout an air of European glamour. The UK's best-selling car of the 1970s, her styling is a joy to behold. Available in 2-door, 4-door and 5-door estate forms. Cigarette lighters fitted as standard and an aeroflow ventilation system that can refresh the entire car in under a minute.
Was an air of European glamour appropriate to you as a 21-year-old?
Absolutely not. There was no European glamour about that car. It belonged to my Uncle Les. And when my Uncle Les got too old to drive it, he gave it to me. And it was a big old car. And it was a bit of a clatterbug. But that car stayed good in terms of engineering right up until when I lent it to Adrian Edmondson, who crashed it into a lamppost. And I still can't forgive him.
Were you good at the time? Did you say, no, think nothing of it?
No.
You came to London to go to drama school. You went to the Central School of Speech and Drama. Was it a similar thing? Everyone else drank and you drove?
Yeah, actually, that's a bit of a pattern, isn't it? It's still the pattern today. I never used to trust the underground. I know that's odd, but I used to think, oh, it was unnatural, I didn't like being down there. So I knew that it would be cheaper for me to have my own car in London and safer, and I felt more independent doing that. I drove Jennifer and I around in that car. I drove us to gigs in that car.
I think what you're talking about there goes to the absolute heart of what the power of a car can be for a woman. The combination of you feel safe in it, but you can have adventures in it at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's all this talk about men being keen on cars. And what do they need cars for? The car is the sort of home you can take around with you, the sort of safe space.
Absolutely. I don't know about you, but I do pack a car for every eventuality. Do you? Especially for blizzard. I think I must have seen a news report somewhere in my teenage where some cars got stuck on a motorway and couldn't move overnight. And I thought, right, so you need Kendal mint cake, you need chocolates, you need blankets, you need water, you need a small hammer, you need rope, you need, you need a tinder box. I have a very well-packed boot. Obviously can't fit anything else in, but I'm prepared for everything.
And you were successful very quickly. The first comic strip film, I read in your book, went out, it must have been 1982, because you say it went out on Channel 4's opening night, alongside the very first countdown and an advert for the Vauxhall Cavalier 1600. Nice detail. What do you remember about that Cavalier? Let's see if we've got any Ford Cortina drivers. Where's Kathleen Young? You've had a Ford Cortina. What one thing did you have in that car that you never needed but were glad you had?
A shovel.
Well, you might need to dig a shallow grave. For your brother.
Elizabeth Donnelly, you remember being a passenger in a Ford Cortina. Was that an enjoyable experience?
Not particularly. My dad was a great fan of buying cheap cars from auction, and about 2 weeks earlier he'd bought this Ford Cortina estate because we were 6 in the family. And he was driving me back from school, which was a rare treat. And we stopped at some traffic lights, and my dad looked in the rearview mirror and said, that's interesting. Everybody else has stopped quite a way behind us. And then there was somebody running up and knocking on his window, and he wound his window down and said, yes. And he said, by the way, your car is on fire. And so my dad said, oh, really? OK. And he just got out of the car, got me out of the car, and then he went back for his Bible.
Was he a priest?
No, he was an evangelical Catholic.
Impressive again.
Were you tempted to say the Bible didn't do you much good on that journey?
Well, yes, because in another incident about 4 years later, I was in the back seat of a car and I had a seatbelt on and we were hit head-on by somebody else. And his Bible, it was a big hardback Jerusalem Bible, went through both windscreens. And luckily, because I had a seatbelt on, I didn't. So, yes.
So in a way, the Bible took the bullet for you there. Amazing story. At the time you were driving the Ford Cortina, Dawn, you're probably about the age that your daughter is now. Were you anxious about her driving?
Yes, I really was. And the day that your child drives away independently in their car down towards a very fast road at the end of the driveway is a killing day. And I realised that what I was doing was waiting on my doorstep for the sound of some awful accident at the end of the driveway. And when I didn't hear that sound, I would wait there for several minutes and then I'd think, OK, surely by now she's out safely. It's OK to go back in.
I'm going to test your anxiety level to see if your brain works like mine. You live in Cornwall, one of the most beautiful parts of the country. When you're getting the car ferry from Badinnick to Foy,
yes,
do you ever wind all the windows down in case the ferry sinks and you have to swim out?
Now, I haven't done that, but I do check if the door can open wide enough. to the car next door. I do check that, and rarely can it.
Now, here's an uncautious move in your life. At the end of the last millennium, on the eve of your 40th birthday, you invested in a TVR Cerberus.
With dominant power and smooth, curvaceous good looks, the TVR Cerberus sits in the big league of performance cars. The TVR AJP8 4.2-litre V8 engine will take you to a top speed of 180 miles per hour, reined in crisply by the 4-pot AP racing brakes. That's a lot of go and a lot of stop. Named after Cerberus, the three-headed dog at the gates of Hades, this sports coupe has been dogged by technical faults, but when it comes to purpose, style and grace, she certainly isn't hellish.
Dominant power and smooth, curvaceous good looks. Very appropriate car, some may say, for Dawn French. Do you mainly remember the speed and grace or the hellish technical faults?
Both, actually. And I'm going to boast here and tell you that I called Jeremy Clarkson and said, I want to drive an irresponsibly fast car for a couple of years, when he told me about the Cerberus. Now, the Cerberus is made by TVR. And you may think that TVR, as I thought initially, would stand for Trans, Vector, Raptor, something. But it doesn't. It stands for Trevor. Apparently. And when I wanted to buy a Cerberus, I was told that I would have to go and visit the factory in Blackpool. It was a very small little factory, and meet the guys who were going to be building it. The most embarrassing thing happened, which was that they measured my arse. Yeah.
How?
Yeah. How?
With a tape measure?
With a tape measure. With a tape measure. Assuring me they did this to everyone who was having one built especially for them. And it was to make the seat fit, apparently. The only problem with that car is it doesn't want to sit on a motorway at all. You are sitting in the engine of the car. The engine comes up between you and the other passenger. It's very loud. You cannot hear the radio.
I think we have actually got the sound of a TVR Cerberus. Happy memories there.
Lovely,
of the TVR Cerberus.
Yeah, it was too fast, really. Too fast.
What I find interesting about you asking for an irresponsibly fast car is if you look at it on the timeline of your life, the point when you bought that car is the late 90s. French and Saunders has been on for 10 years. Murder Most Horrid is at its height, really. The Vicar of Dibley has just begun. So you're incredibly successful. You've bought a car that goes from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
You've really left the Morris Minor years behind. Was it a conscious reward?
That's a great question. I suspect it was. I've always been quite a sensible person, and I just wanted a mad moment or two. I think I was in a strange time in my life where I didn't really care what anybody thought about it, but when it makes that kind of noise at the traffic lights, competitions happen, especially with men. So you're expected to take off in an irresponsible way and nearly kill people. And so you do, which is, well, you don't kill people, obviously, but you feel the need to win at all times whenever, going from a standing start. In under 4 seconds, sorry to correct you, but in under 4 seconds, 0 to 60.
You moved on quite quickly to a Jaguar XK8.
The Jaguar XK8 is the best of British and a world-class sports car. Tight, taut, springy as a mountain gazelle and smooth as a lakeside otter, with electric memory seats, automatic climate control, a trip computer and beautiful leather trim. Take that, the Germans. You couldn't fit anyone taller than a 2-year-old in her back seats, but the grand touring ability makes her a delight over long distances, and her roomy boot can happily swallow 2 sets of golf clubs.
The strange thing about that car was that I was so excited to buy it. It's called the Cat, and I drove it to work on the Monday to meet up with Jennifer to work, and she had bought the exact same car the exact same weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. That's weird.
At that time, you were married to Lenny Henry. Did you make him get a really boring straight car so that you could have the fast one?
Lenny was somebody who started in showbiz at the age of, I think he was 15 or 16. So he couldn't drive at that point. And so he had to have another person drive him around. And that person that drove him around became a very good friend and drove him around for many, many years. Consequently, he's not a very good driver. No, he's an okay driver. You're safe with him, but he's not an experienced driver, let's put it that way.
My husband doesn't drive.
Doesn't he?
I can tell you that he's also got a person who drives him around and around, and that's me. Let's talk about now. You are now driving the Range Rover Sport V6.
An SUV with gangster swagger, the Range Rover Sport beckons you to sit high over the road and enjoy the ample, quiet force of her 3-litre V6 diesel powertrain. Chunky but more compact than her bigger Range Rover sibling, the Sport is agile and easy to drive. Take her deep in the mud and test that terrain response, hill descent control and 850mm wading level.
Ample, quiet force. Do you take her deep in the mud?
I haven't done that. Although I have done an off-road driving course, which I did up in Scotland once, but that was in a Land Rover. So, yeah, qualified.
The Range Rover Sport is, in a way, a descendant of the Rover 2000. There's only a direct line on the family tree.
Yeah.
When you're driving it around, do you ever think back to that time driving the Rover 2000?
I certainly feel grown up in it, if that's what you mean. More grown up than I would feel in a Cerbera, for instance. And, do you know, there's something about the Range Rover and the M4 that go together very, very well. I think it's just because the M4 and the M5 are my roads home, so those are the roads I know, those are the roads I go slightly too fast on. Yes, I have had to do a driver safety course. Yes, I have. And can I tell you this? One night, just tell me if you think this is fair. One night, it must have been about 2:30 in the morning, right? And there are roadworks with nobody working in them. And I drove at, I think it was 55 miles an hour in a 50-mile-an-hour roadwork zone. And I went over the border between Somerset and Devon. And I was done in both counties. That's a lot of points. That's not fair, is it? No, correct.
Let's see who's driven a Range Rover Sport. Polly McMahon, where are you? What are your main memories of that car?
I loved it, absolutely loved it, but then I went through a 5-bar gate and didn't open it.
What did you change it for?
Eventually I changed it for a VW tow rag.
Is that a real car?
Well, I can't pronounce it. Touareg.
Oh, Touareg, I see. I really hoped we'd get to at least show 2 before they discover I know nothing at all about cars.
Can I tell you one of the best things about the Range Rover Sport is it contains a fridge. Between you and the passenger, there is a deep fridge, perfect for revels.
You have a big family now. Your second husband, Mark, has children, so there's them, as well as your daughter, so it's a big family. And your husband drives a Ford Mondeo.
Competing in a tough sector against the Volkswagen Passat and the Skoda Superb, the Ford Mondeo was What Car Magazine's Best Family Car of the Year in 2008, 2009, 2011, 2012 and 2013. The Ford Mondeo revs cleanly, cruises quietly, and is really pleasant to drive.
Well, you know, he doesn't drive it anymore, sadly, because it was falling apart when I first met him. But it was one of the things that I fell in love about my husband, was that he drove what he called the sure-footed Mondeo. And it was sure-footed. And what I really loved was that he had no embarrassment about it whatsoever. Just like he also had no embarrassment about the fact that he had a chihuahua. Which was not his, it was his daughter's.
And these days, in the general run of things, which of you drives and which one reads the map?
Oh,
Do people still read the map, or is it just sat-nav now?
I do. I always read the map first to be sure that I know where I'm going. I've got quite a good sense of direction, and I hesitate to say that he hasn't. He doesn't know that he hasn't, but I know that he hasn't. He says places, whole towns have moved. And it's not true, Victoria. It's not true. It's a lie. I think both of us are the alpha driver. Let's put it that way. So sometimes we flip a coin to decide who will drive. Well, it depends whether we want to get there or not.
Sadly, we're running out of time, so we're going to have to drive off into the sunset. But unusually for me, Dawn French, I'm going to allow you to choose the music.
Yeah.
So what's it going to be? What is your driving theme going to be?
OK, well, my driving theme would be I'm Out of Love by Anastasia. When I was single, I decided to play this very, very loudly and pretend to be Anastasia quite often in the car. And I don't know what I was raging about, because it's quite a raging song. But it's a very cathartic song if you sing it very, very loudly about 1 million times on every journey, especially going over Bodmin Moor.
Well, that's what we're going to have. Dawn French, with your smooth, curvaceous good looks and your ample, quiet force. You're a wonderful woman, and we all love you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking to me about cars. Let's go. Olivia Colman, you have won many BAFTAs, most recently for Broadchurch, the sort of harrowing but incredibly entertaining crime show. I think what most people would want to know about that wonderful series is, did you get to drive a police car?
I did, actually. Only for about 30 seconds, and they realised they wanted the other person to be driving the car. Because normally I drive a sort of family saloon in that show. It was the beginning of the second series. I got to drive in a police car. And then I had to hand over the wheel to my co-star, and she was a wonderful actress, awful driver.
Have you ever been stopped by the police in real life while driving?
Yes.
What for?
My tail light was out on my mum's car that I was driving, and he pulled me over, and I was so horrified, because I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and a driving licence is, you really need it. And I thought, you know, when you're a teenager, you go, oh my God, they're going to take my licence away, and I'm going to be at home forever. And he stopped me to say my brake light was out, and his hand was on just inside the windscreen, and I hit it. Oh my God, don't you ever do anything like that again. I was worried, I thought, and then I realised I just hit a policeman on the hand. And luckily he was fine. I thought it was funny.
He may have taken it as flirtatious.
Oh. I didn't think of that, but he did help me to try and fix my tail light, so maybe... Oh.
I always hit men when I'm flirting, is that unusual? Let's go back to your childhood, when you were very small, and so was your mother's car. She drove a Mini.
The Mark III Mini 850 is a two-door, four-speed saloon that's cute as a button with her tiny wheels and chrome grille. The 848cc A-Series engine pulls eagerly away and is pretty perky at the low speeds. But, like a difficult date, if you go too fast, you'll start complaining. Still, there's plenty of comfort. Thanks to customer demand, the 850 now boasts winding windows, a rod-change gearshift mechanism, and, as of 1974, a heater as standard. Toasty.
Yes, it was a health authority car. My mum was a district nurse. My dad was a mature student, so we all went to live with him at university, and we did lift shares. And the little boy used to give us lift to school. I sat in the back of the car once. I can't remember this, but Mum tells me this. And he was going, my dad has got a much bigger car than this. And I just didn't like him. And I went, my daddy hasn't even got a car, he's got a bicycle. And my mum thought that was great.
Did you go on the rounds with her when she was being a nurse?
Yes, so if I was ever ill from school, or it was school holidays, and Mum, you know, people don't stop being ill, so Mum would still have to do her rounds. And she'd make us up a bed in the back of the car, and she'd try and make it sound like it was going to be really quick and lots of fun. It never was. I thought everyone during their school holidays would be locked into a car. Yeah.
You never got to go in and see the patients?
Well, I did want to be a nurse, and Mum said, it's a wonderful profession, she's loved it, but if you want me to put you off, come in and see this particular patient, who I think had a suppurating sore that smelt like, rotting bodies, and that did put me off for a while, actually.
Let's see who else in the audience has memories of a Mini. Rachel Stanley, you used to own a Mini. What do you remember about that car?
It was my first real car. It was a 1987 Mini. It was 17 years old, and it was pimped.
It was what?
Pimped.
What does that mean?
Sort of zhuzhed up. A bit like a vajazzle, but for a car.
Is this something that you had done to it, or you bought it like that?
No, I got it like that. So it was kind of white, then it had kind of black kind of edges and big black wheel arches and the largest exhaust ever. So you heard it coming.
Wow.
It was amazing, except for if you wanted to go above about 50 miles an hour.
Where is Lynn McManagan? You've had a Mini as well. What do you remember about that?
It was 1971. I'd just passed my test. I'd promised not to ask to borrow my dad's Cortina. And the day after I passed my test, I asked to borrow the Cortina. So he bought me this beaten-up C-Reg Mini, basic, green. And it was wonderful. I did go over a bump on a Lancashire country lane one night with the boyfriend in the car. And you remember the day it had sliding windows at that point, and they both fell in.
Oh, gosh. What a terrible story. Thank you for sharing that traumatic memory. Also in your life at that time, Olivia Colman, was a very interesting car, a Volvo PV544.
The Volvo PV544 was released to the Swedes in 1958. But why shouldn't we have her too? She offers stunning sports car looks, solid performance, and a bulletproof drivetrain. 3 cheers for that fabulous B18 4-cylinder engine, which makes 90 HP at 5,000 RPM. But look out for traction issues. The 544 is so light in the back, 2 sturdy guys could pick her right off the ground. Whoa there.
Whose was that?
That was my granddad's, and the number plate was YYY, so he called her Delilah. He was a mechanic or an engineer during the Second World War, and he spent all his time tinkering with this lovely car. That looked like to me, it looked like a big gangster car, and it didn't come with seatbelts, so he put seatbelts in, which seemed like they were, in my memory, put on with great big lumps of wood and then nailed to the and then my dad inherited it, or I think they sort of had to persuade my granddad at 96 to stop driving. And my dad rallied cars, and he would rally that.
Were you interested in cars?
Yes. I've always liked classic cars, old cars, and I did actually have my rally licence, age 16. But now I have to explain that, because it's not that I passed an amazing test and did a donut and they gave me a licence. You just said, could I have a rally licence? And they went, yeah. That was it.
So how did your interest in cars manifest itself when you were little? I mean, did you read about them? And it's still the case at my parents' house, but in the loo, there's always a mountain of car magazines. It's amazing how much you can learn by osmosis, sitting, having a poo, and reading about cars. My mum would be so proud of me at this point. We also grew up in the middle of nowhere, so I learnt to drive very young, 12, 13 or something, on a field. And also when everyone else had a poster of Michael J. Fox on their wall, I had a poster of a Carmen Gear. Have you ever driven one?
No, I haven't, sadly. I haven't. I always imagined if I ever got one, I'd put a Porsche engine in. And they're just so beautiful.
What was your granddad like, the one with the Volvo?
Popper. He was lovely. He had to leave school age 13 to look after the family, so he got a special certificate to say he was allowed to leave school. And he was just such a happy, lovely, proper old Norfolk boy. I have lovely memories of him.
Your own first car was a Morris Minor.
Designed under the brilliant leadership of Alec Isagonis, the Morris Minor 1000 with 1098cc engine and rear-wheel drive is sluggish but roomy, with excellent handling. Weight at the curb, 762 kilograms. All these qualities make her a favourite amongst nurses, school teachers and members of the clergy.
That's interesting, because at one point you were going to be a school teacher.
Sort of. It was the only place that I could get into.
What, teacher training college?
Yes. I had the most appalling A-level grades. I would have been an awful teacher, and a generation of children had a very lucky escape.
Why would you have been an awful teacher?
I wanted to muck about too much, and I don't think that's what you want from a teacher.
Oh, it's exactly what you want from a teacher. It's interesting, because we heard that Dawn French's first car was a Morris Minor, and she also started as a teacher.
Really?
Yes, hers was called The Bomb. Did yours have a name?
Moomin.
Why was that?
Because she looked like a Moomin troll. She was fat and white and with a lovely big round nose.
Like me?
She was snowberry white with a raspberry line down the side and a raspberry grill like lipstick.
And when you went to Cambridge University to do your teacher training degree, did Moomin go with you?
Yes, she did. And I only lasted a year.
But you were part of the university life. You joined the Cambridge Footlights.
Yes, I did join in everything. And Moomin was always my companion. Oh, I loved her so much. And I made little gingham seat covers for her. And we properly chatted. I know that sounds nuts. But I would drive to Cambridge and back to Norfolk and just relished getting into Moomin. She never broke down. She did once. I mended a rotor arm with some nail varnish. And also, you could take the rotor arm out so no one could steal her. Does that sound feasible if I made that up?
I mean, let me say this to the listeners. You've tuned in to a programme called Women Talking About Cars. If you didn't want to hear about a rotary arm being fixed with nail varnish...
Wrong programme.
So you were in the Cambridge Footlights. At what point did you realise you weren't going to become a teacher?
Oh, I think after I'd unpacked my bags on that very first day. And I accidentally auditioned for the Footlights because I was signing up to the Union Society... Oh, something. And there was a sign in Biro, audition. Oh, I'll go there. And I didn't know what it was for. And I was told to sell something to the assembled company and pretend it was a food thing. And I was doing very badly and nobody was laughing. It was awful and it was a cigarette butt. And so I ate it. And I looked and they were still not laughing. They just looked horrified. And they took me in because they thought I was game.
You were in the Footlights with Robert Webb and David Mitchell. That began a sort of lifelong relationship. You did sketch shows together on stage and TV. And Peep Show, where you and David Mitchell played a married couple. How did you find him as a husband?
This is lovely. I really want to have this chat now. Well, I think the real David would be a much nicer husband than Mark Corrigan. Yes, it was never a happy marriage, was it, the Peep Show marriage?
If people haven't seen it, they break up in the wedding car.
In the church.
Which is, let me just say, an absolutely lovely 1960 Bentley S2.
Oh, get you!
But everyone talks about how you later turned from comedy to serious acting, but that's a really harrowing scene. I mean, it's a heartbreaking storyline.
Thank you. Tears in the church, hoping someone would make an objection.
Because something like Peep Show is a very good example of it's comedy, but it's also not comedy.
Yeah.
There's very dark reality
I think
stuff.
The best comedies, well, to my taste anyway, the best comedies do have a big dose of darkness in them.
Let's see who else has happy memories of a Morris Minor. Victoria Forbes, tell us about your Morris Minor.
She's a 1968 four-door Maroon B. She was my first car. I bought her when I was 16, so before I passed my test, for the princely sum of £25.
Wow!
And
Did she have an engine?
Yes, but not much of a floor. Wow. And quite a lot of moss in the windows. And I called her Jenny after my auntie who always drove a Morris Minor. Like you did with Moomin, I'd talk to her and sort of stroke the dashboard and say, well done, we made it. We got there.
We overtook the lorry.
So is this the only car you've ever had?
She's my everyday car. I would never part with her, but I thought she needed friends. So I've also got a Triumph Herald and a Riley Elf.
Have you?
Lovely.
Triumph Herald's lovely with the wings on the back.
So while you were at Cambridge, you were rather distracted by a handsome young man called Ed Sinclair. And legend has it that you went to the Bristol Old Vic Drama School because this guy was going and you wanted to be near him.
Yeah. It worked, though.
Well, let's fast forward 10 years. You're driving a maroon Saab 900.
The stylish and well-made Saab 900 is one of the ill-fated Swedish car brand's most recognizable designs. Produced for 20 years from 1978, with a variety of engines ranging from a 99 bhp 2-litre right up to a 185 bhp Carlton, the classic original ran till 1994 when it was hello to the 900's second gen. Originally, of course, the Saab group was Svenska Aeroplan AB, and the 900's curvy design nodded lovingly to aircraft manufacturing. Sadly, she nods no more.
So this is now around 2006. Are you still in touch with this Ed Sinclair?
Yes. We now have 3 children together with my husband, and he's lovely.
So you've had one boyfriend since you were 19?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's no, this is not the time to say.
We were 20. 19 was a very busy year.
That's quite unusual, though, these days, to settle down that early.
You haven't seen Eddie, though. He's gorgeous. Yeah, I had a lightning moment, thunderbolts. I went into rehearsal for a play and I saw Ed sitting there. I just saw his right-hand profile and his legs were crossed. And I went, oh, that's him, I'm going to marry him, that's him.
And so it's 2006, you're married, you have a child. Were you confident about driving the baby around in the maroon Saab?
Well, it's a tank, so it was the perfect car for new parents. My dad helped. He said, oh, no, family car, I can help. He sounds quite a wheeler dealer. How about a Volvo? But I'd just done an AA advert when I was in a Volvo, and I said, I can't drive around in a Volvo, because I'll just get everyone going, Bev, Kev, out the windows. Just horribly reminded you all of that advert now. I said, I'd love a Saab, and he did manage to find one for about 600 quid. And it's built for snow, so it's really warm and cosy.
I'm terrified of driving with the baby. I really like my car, but I don't like the way they face away from you.
Yeah, my driving changed, certainly, from the moment we had a baby. I would rather my children felt safe, and at the moment, I just want them to live as long as possible. When I say at the moment, I'll probably always...
And what was happening in your acting life? Were you doing stage work at that time? Did you take a break from motherhood?
No. So at the time, doing a lot of comedy, and nobody minded me being pregnant while playing. For example, David Mitchell allowed me to play an 80-year-old tramp while pregnant, which was fun.
I filmed a series of my quiz show when I was 8 months pregnant, and what people may not, probably do, but may not realise about quiz shows is that you make an awful lot of them in a short period of time, and we did that more than ever because I was about to have a baby, which means that there was a point where I was 8 months pregnant on BBC Two from September through to the following April. Week after week, there I loomed. And when you had your second child, you moved on to a Vauxhall Vectra.
Looking for thrills? Then you might want to avoid the Vauxhall Vectra. She's an easygoing, everyday ride, and speed-wise, she thrives on a strong mid-range shove. Dismissed by some as mediocre, she delivers what many of us really want at 70 miles per hour, reliability.
What do you remember about that face? You've got 2 kids in a Vauxhall Vectra. Where did you go in it?
To my mum's house, mum and dad's house, and back again, and to the park, and back again. That's it, really.
When you've got children in the back of a car, can you still have rows about the map?
Weirdly, Ed and I have never had a row.
I beg your pardon?
He did once slap the steering wheel, but that wasn't my fault. Also, I don't ever get a map wrong. So there is no reason to have a row.
How have you never had a row?
We're both quite reasonable, and he's not annoying, so there's nothing to row about. Also, I love maps. I have a thing about maps. I actually recently had a driver drive me back filming third series of Broadchurch, and they very sweetly got me a driver to take me from Bristol back to London. And when we got into London, he wasn't based in London, so he didn't know it, so I said, do you mind if I shout out some suggestions? And he said, there's nothing I like better than being told what to do by a woman. Hackles. Great, well then you'll enjoy this. And then he proceeded to say, you don't hold the map upside down, do you? And I said, do you know, I've had a long week. All these jokes will fall on deaf ears. It's not funny. And I've never held a map upside down. How dare you? And then I proceeded to get him from the river to South London in 5 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. Good work.
I'm shaking at you know, when these little moments like that, because I don't argue with anyone very often, so it was quite a big deal for me, and it still makes me angry.
Here's the mystery. Your grandfather had this amazing car. You talked to him about it. You had pictures of cars on the wall. You got a rally licence. You dream of the Carmen gear. Why are you spending your life in Vauxhall Vectras?
We had another baby and pushchair. So my Carmen gear dream is just getting pushed further and further away.
Are you generally good at giving yourself treats?
I don't know. Depends, I suppose, what you think of as a treat. I like getting into bed. I think that's a treat. I like little things like brushing your teeth. It's free and it makes you feel all nice. I think I'm quite easily pleased. I like toast. Love a cup of tea. I think they're all treats.
Do you like dressing up for awards dues?
Nope. And I've got my husband's socks on. Look at that. Great big hole in the side of the sock. It's radio, so you don't know that I could be wearing a ball gown.
But we see you looking amazing on red carpets, sort of fabulous sort of gowns and jewellery. Do you not enjoy doing that?
No. It's horrible. You have a constant wedgie. You have the amount of underwear it's now suggested that you wear, thrush from your armpits to your knees is just miserable. I might tell my mum that this is on a different night.
She's a nurse. She's heard it all before.
That's true.
Now, there's a very significant moment in your career, Olivia Coren, in 2011, when you did Paddy Considine's film Tyrannosaur, a sort of horrible, brilliant film about domestic violence that I think really changed the way that people saw you. Did you have a long think before you said yes to that?
No. Well, I'd do anything for Paddy. I'd defy anybody. If you ever met him, if he said, would you do a film where you kill rabbits? Yes. I'll do anything for you. It was a beautiful film, and to the day I die, it's the thing I'll be most proud of.
It's an incredible performance in that film. It's very, very memorable. So you do that, and you do several films. You do a film with Meryl Streep. She thinks you're amazing. Suddenly you're in a different league when it comes to profile. On TV, there's Rev, there's 2012, there's Broadchurch. You can't move for BAFTAs. This is obviously the time to, really focus on your glittering career and treat yourself to a hot sports car. But instead...
The Ford S-Max is safe, solid, people carrier that's hard to beat for rear stowage. She's a big one, so you'll be grateful for the reassurance of all-round parking sensors, as well as Ford's latest Sync 3 infotainment system. Titanium models get cruise and keyless start as standard, while the range-topping Titanium Sport also has heated front seats and rear privacy glass. So, if you like a lot of toys in your MPV, then buckle up, it's playtime.
Yeah. Okay, so what happened in your life that you bought a Ford S-Max?
Yeah, had another baby. Yeah.
I mean, that's quite an unexpected thing to do. Everyone says it's very difficult for female actors when they turn 40. And you're coming to that point. You've hit the big time in a massive way. Were you not scared to...
What, to have another baby or to get an S-Max?
It's not what many people would do.
Well, I took 8 years persuading my husband to have number 3. So when he had a weak moment, I couldn't really step out of it for any length of time. And there are big chunks of time when we're not working, as you know, sort of can be 6 months in every year. So I might as well squeeze out a person during that, during that time.
So there you are now, 3 children and a dog in the back of the Ford S-Max, dog as well.
Alfred Lord Waggison.
It's not too boring. You did get the Titanium Sport model. Do you like a lot of toys in your MPV?
I did. Well, you know, my passion is for classic cars that don't really have all that stuff. I have to say it's really fun because there's one button and you can go, call Ed, and it will go, calling Ed there, and things. It's really fun.
The privacy glass must be nice now that you've got so much fame. I imagine you're not very comfortable with being recognised when you're out with the
also
family.
the privacy glass is in the back, so it's a waste of time if you're driving. Unless you try and drive like that. I haven't quite worked out yet how you're meant to play it, because I'm quite a private person. I love being at home.
Have you stopped going to the pub?
Yes. And that's quite sad, because I used to love meeting people, and when you're all equal, it's really fun. When everyone knows your face and you don't know their face, it's not fun anymore. I find it quite intimidating.
Would you still take the deal, though, if you could go back to, you know, however many years ago when that didn't happen and you were in the pub and people weren't staring?
It's a really good question. I would. I love my work so much. I think that's why I'm happy. I'm a better mummy than I would be if I didn't feel fulfilled creatively.
Let me ask you a more serious question. Have you ever owned driving gloves?
No. Big no. That's
then what do you keep in
no.
the glove compartment?
Biscuits. What have we got in there? Tissues. Plastic bags. Poo bags. What else?
Sorry?
What?
Poo bags?
For the dog.
Does the dog poo in the car?
No, but if you're on a journey or going to the park and there's... you can't just... It's bad form to leave a poo. And sometimes, if he does a poo somewhere where you can't find it, for karma, I will pick up someone else's poo. If we all did that, it would be a nicer place.
We are going to have to speed off into the sunset soon. I'm going to let you choose the music for our onward journey. What's it going to be?
My favourite driving song in the world is Summer Breeze by the Isley Brothers.
Olivia Colman, you are a top-of-the-range model. You manage to be reliable and thrilling, and you're perky at all speeds. Thank you very much for talking to me about cars. Sarah, let's start with a few quick-fire questions.
Okay.
Just get a sense of you as a driver. In a road rage incident...
Yes.
Are you more likely to be the victim or the perpetrator?
Oh, interesting. It depends what your definition of road rage is. Like, I swear and I gesticulate. I mean, I could do them now, but it's the radio, it's a waste. That sort of thing, work it out. And but I don't beat my horn. I realise I've only ever beeped my horn once, and that was when I was stationary, so I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And I was sitting in a car park and my handbag was on the passenger seat, and it always weighs a ton because it's got everything in it I need. And I lifted it onto my lap and it beeped the horn as it did it. And that's the only time I've ever beat my horn. Because I think you're too busy, like if somebody's been an idiot, I'm quite a careful, sensible driver, but you get, if somebody's cutting you up, then I think I'm too busy kind of getting out of the way or making myself safe, to then beat the horn. I think if I did it, it would be very sort of after the effect, and they would be already sort of a couple of miles down the motorway, and I'd be like, oh yes, like that.
You know you're not meant to beat the horn to tell people off, though. It's meant to be a warning.
Oh, no.
Look at that.
What I do in that situation is I go, ooh, ooh.
Have you ever put diesel in the car instead of petrol, or the other way round?
No, but I've been accused of it. I have. I always have a diesel car, because I was sort of told early on that they're good for kind of sort of longevity, I suppose. So I've only ever had diesel cars, but I once broke down at Oxford Services on the way home from London, and broke down, it filled up, then as I started to pull away, it just completely broke down. And so I rang the RAC, and she said, have you put the wrong fuel in? And I was genuinely furious. The reason I knew I definitely hadn't is because I've got a little song to help me remember.
What song?
Well, when I was a kid, my dad always used to sing the song to the Mickey Mouse show from when he was a kid, and it was M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E, Mickey Mouse. So that was kind of in my head. So I, because I'm really creative and a bit of a songwriter, changed it to D-A-E-S-E-L-M-O-U-S-E, Diesel Man. But it works until the day that I realised that petrol has the same amount of letters.
When you were a child, your family car was a Ford Granada.
The original Ford Granada is the Ford Motoring Company's executive offering for Europe. Manufactured in Cologne and Dagenham, she follows the Zephyr layout with her coil spring independent rear end, albeit tweaked to include double wishbones at the front and drum brakes at the back. She's popular as a police vehicle or taxi, company car or family companion, and she also converts beautifully into a hearse.
Did you enjoy car journeys with the family?
Oh, no, I've always been incredibly travel sick. We couldn't get to Saver Centre in Washington, which was 20 minutes away, without me throwing up. It was that bad. Every single journey, horrendous. My mum was just constantly spattered with sick. You'd think they'd be more prepared if I did it all the time, but I did have to actually vomit in my dad's pit helmet. And because pit helmets are expensive, he couldn't just, bin it. It had to be washed out and he had to wear it every day.
Did you go on long journeys? Did you have holidays in the car?
We did, which you'd think if you've got a kid that can't get past 20 minutes, you wouldn't go to Devon and Cornwall for holidays, would you? But we did. I used to sleep. That was the easiest way. So my sister would be in the front and she would be the navigator, even though she's only 5 years older than me. And I would be in the back with my mum. And it was before seatbelts, obviously, in the back. So my mum would sit and I would lie with my head on her lap. And that was the only way I could sort of get through and not be sick the whole time. But my dad sometimes forgot that people need to wee on a 10-hour drive. I would always wait until my eyes were floating in wee. And then I would look at my mum and she would see the wee. And she would read my face. And she'd say, Philip, my dad, Philip, the bairns need to stop at a service station. And every single time my dad would say, you should have said before, we've just passed one's 40 miles for the next one. At which point I would cry, which would probably help the situation. I don't know if it comes back up and out your eyes. I don't know how it works.
He bought his first Ford Granada in 1984, which is actually the year of the miners' strike. What do you remember about that time?
I remember that we got £11 a week to live on. But there were various people decided to sort of help the miners out in the local area. Some of the supermarkets gave the miners sort of end-of-day stuff, so kind of maybe bashed tins that they couldn't sell or unlabelled tins or sort of pastries and bread and things like that. Marks and Spencer's decided they were going to help out as well, and they gave the miners 13 trays of avocados. And the miners had no idea what they were. I remember I grew out of my shoes, and I was well aware, even at 9, that there was no money. And I didn't tell my mum and dad until my mum woke me up one day and there was blood all over the bed, and it's because my feet were just covered in sort of blisters and were kind of sort of messed up. It was the summer holidays, so I wore my wellies like the whole summer holidays. And I know that sounds like a really sad story, but when you're 9, getting to wear your wellies every day, it's brilliant. So I remember quite a lot of sort of nice things about that time, even though that sounds odd.
Let's see who in the audience remembers nice things about the Ford Granada. Where is Megan Shersby? You don't own a Ford Granada, but you remember one, is that right?
Not quite. My dad was telling me before the show that they had one before I was hatched, his word, not mine, and it was stolen whilst they were on holiday.
They're obviously quite stealable cars. My dad's second Granada was also stolen. My dad said there was something really distinctive about that car, and whenever he saw another car that had this sort of quite distinctive feature, we chased it. Because he loved that car so much, and we would chase them for ages. And I don't know, my dad's a very placid man. I don't know what would have happened if he'd ever caught anybody. But he did run into the policeman who lived on our street, and the policeman said, years later, did you ever get your Granada back? And my dad said, I thought that was your bloody job.
Now, there's Maggie Mays. You've driven a Ford Granada. What do you remember about that?
It was enormous. It was a pale, silvery kind of green colour, a very metallic green, and I loved it. It was heaven. It had all bells and whistles. I didn't actually get to realise how most of them worked, but I mean, just heated seats and power steering, and it was lovely. I loved it. I'm not trying to sell Fords, by the way.
No, but that's not so much about the Ford Granada. That's the excitement of having a new car. I've never had a new car. I imagine that would be quite exciting.
Can I ask, Maggie, did you like...
Sorry, hold on a minute. Sarah's told a story about the miners' strike and having to wear Wellington boots.
Welcome to London.
And you've gone, because I've never had a new car. You're terribly kind. Terribly kind.
Can I ask, Maggie, did you like the heated seats?
Yes. I loved them. I do, yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
I'd never had them before.
Oh,
and then
heaven.
on my last tour, my tour manager had like a people carrier thing, and that had heated seats. And there was a game where he used to try and flip the button so that the seat heated up without me seeing. So I would just gradually think I'd wet myself.
It does feel a bit like that, actually, yeah.
So we're going to jump forward more than 20 years from the Ford Granada.
Yes.
Because you didn't learn to drive until you were in your early 30s. And you didn't own a car at that time, but there was a car in your life, the Renault Clio.
Yes.
The Renault Clio Mark II is a fun and lightweight little hatchback with new plastic front wings that save on weight and repair costs. The suspension's improved, and although the trim levels are mind-boggling, she comes with a simple range of 1.2, 1.4 and 1.6-litre 8 valves, or a 1.9 diesel. On top of all that, she's a visual treat, with a bulbous rear end and huge front lamps.
So you're describing me?
Whose car was that?
That was my now husband's, my then boyfriend's car. And it was red and it was called Alison. I got my first compliment from him in that car. It was a very old car. I didn't have any aircon or anything like that, nothing flashy. And there was a day that was really hot. It was really incredibly warm outside, and he was sweating a lot in the car. And he looked at me and he said, I'm very impressed by how little you sweat. And as a woman who doesn't get compliments a lot in that way, I'd never really had much of a history of getting a lot of compliments. I grabbed that bloody compliment.
Now, at this point in your life, you'd been divorced. You married very early at 22.
Yes.
You divorced at 29, and you'd been a civil servant, which was a job you left around the same time. 3 years later, you're with Gary, you're learning to drive, and the year after that, you go to the Edinburgh Fringe with a comedy show and win the Best Newcomer Award. You've never looked back.
Yeah, I don't think it was anything to do with the driving licence. I don't think...
See, I do.
Finally, she can drive. Let's give her an award.
I think it's quite symbolic.
Do you?
Yes, I think all of those years, all through your 20s when you weren't able to drive, it's almost like you're stuck in the wrong life and you literally can't get out of it. And you learn to drive and it sort of propels you into a new place.
I think when I passed my driving test, it was the first time I felt fully independent. Because I could leave anywhere, I could go anywhere, I could go home early from a thing if it was rubbish, I could leave parties if I ever went to them. When you start doing stand-up, you realise quite quickly that you need to be able to drive, otherwise you're never going to get home. And also because rail travel is pretty pricey, you can't sort of take a last-minute gig. So if somebody says, we need somebody in Scunthorpe tonight, and the price is, the train is 150 quid and the gig is for 60, that's not going to happen. Whereas if you've got a car, it's just a bit of diesel. D-I-E-S-E-L-M.
That's sort of what Thelma and Louise is about, isn't it? The car as a means of escape. I know you love that film.
It's my favourite film.
Why is Thelma and Louise your favourite film?
Oh, my God. It was the first time I think I'd seen a film where women weren't just the victim, the wife, the girlfriend, the stripper. I've seen awful films. And some good ones. But Thelma and Louise, they were in charge. They were the protagonists. And I don't honestly think... Maybe I was 16 when it came out. 12th of July, 1991. I love it so much. It made me want to write and direct films. And I absolutely loved it. And still love it to this day. And won't watch it with my husband. Because if we've got a rule where if a film's a bit rubbish or we're not enjoying it, we put commentary on. So we call it commentary on. And then we just smart arse our way through it and make little comments all the way through. And I think if he talks his way through Thelma and Louise, I'll bloody kill him. So for the sake of the marriage, we've never seen it together.
Let's see who in the audience has fond memories of the Renault Clio. Connie Williams, where are you? What do you remember about that car?
I used to be a teacher, and in a school where the vast majority of teachers were female. And when you went out at the end of the day, you couldn't find your car because loads and loads of people had these cars because they were so cheap.
Do you think the Renault Clio was a particularly female car?
Yeah, definitely.
Why?
I think the rounded back of it, actually, and the big lumps. But no, I don't know. I think it was curvy.
Do you think of driving as a sort of escape?
I do. I'm from a family of 3 brothers, and I always felt like the boys were favoured. And that freedom of having a car was a great liberation, I think.
Thank you very much. Where is Victoria Reed? What are your memories of a Renault Clio?
It was one of those cars that when we were all about sort of 17, 18, I just remember friends having them. And where I grew up in Scotland, we lived, it was very remote, and you'd sort of maybe drive 10, 12 miles picking people up to get to the pub. It just seemed that a Renault Clio and a Peugeot 306 were the cars of my teenage years. It's just what people drove, and the advert was that, I think, that French guy and his daughter, and it was like, Nicole, oui papa. And I remember getting into one for the first time thinking, I am Nicole, it's so exciting.
It's interesting because those commercials very much weren't set in rural Scotland.
No, they were so far removed, it was like rural France, so it was rural, and there the similarity ended completely. Yes, and I'm not tanned and blonde and running off to meet my French lover. I was sort of slightly pale and Scottish, and I didn't have a French lover.
There's still time.
Well...
So finally, Sarah Milligan, you pass your driving test. You get your own car.
Yes.
It's a Nissan Micra.
Cute, cuddly and affordable, the Nissan Micra K12 is one eager super mini. All her engine options are economical, especially the DCIs, which can give you more than 60 mpg. With higher roof and longer wheelbase, alongside a mind-blowing 9-meter turning circle, she's not just an econobox, she's an econobutte.
So you must have needed a car then. You were a stand-up comic. A lot
Yes.
of that is about travelling around the country.
Yeah.
What was the worst thing about the long drives for you?
Oh, well, there was a time when I was driving down the M6 from Manchester, where I lived at the time, to a gig in Birmingham, and I got stuck in traffic. But really bad, like a proper accident up ahead. A lorry had jackknifed, as I found out later on. And I started to really need a wee. So I was trying to think of what I could do, and I'm quite practical. My dad's an engineer. So I got a bottle of Coke, an empty bottle of Coke, and I thought, I'll wee in that. Now, the neck of a bottle of Coke is very small, and women obviously had twin jets. We all know this. So I thought, well, you know, a bottle of Coke sort of goes down to that nice sort of fatter bit, and I thought I could probably hit that, though. How am I going to cut round that? I didn't have any scissors, but I had tweezers, because it's very good to have car tweezers, because the light is amazing. And that little mirror, you know, you've got 5 minutes spare in a car park, you can have a good pluck. So I dug my tweezers in, and I kind of hacksawed my way around the fat neck of the Coke bottle, and then I thought, I can't weigh on that, it's jagged. I was in absolute agony now, like proper pain. So what I did, I moved across to the passenger side, pulled everything down, did the biggest wee in the world, pulled everything back up again, and moved back to the driving seat. Now, I have no idea what the people behind me in their car thought I was doing. Just like, bored this seat, I'll have a go at this seat. Oh, this seat's fun. And then I took the car to the garage the next day and asked for a proper sort of valet, because you clean it. And I said, especially that passenger seat, because my friend's dog did a massive wee on there yesterday.
Because you actually do have a dog.
I didn't then. That was an entire lie. I didn't even have a dog, but I do have a dog now, yes.
Yeah, because he is actually here this evening. Shall we bring him out?
Yeah.
Is he a good traveller? Does he like the car?
He loves the car. He loved the car. Oh, my God, he loves the car so much. Because he came on tour with me for quite a lot of the tour days, and we weren't sure when we first got him what he was going to be like. And he was very happy. We've got a crate in the back of the car with his bed in, and he jumps in to the point where when we go out to take him out for a walk, he runs to the car.
Has he ever weed in the car?
The dog never has weed in the car. Only me.
He's really yawning. I feel like he prefers Radio 3. Let's let him go so I can ask you about the next card. Thank you for coming on, Tuvok.
Oh.
Let's find out who in the audience has weed in a Nissan Micra. Where is Susan Hannah? You've owned a Nissan Micra. What's the worst thing you've ever done in it?
Oh, I didn't do anything bad in it. I was very excited when I got it because it was my first brand new car. So.
We were talking about that before. I think that's one of the themes of the evening, the excitement of a new car. Do you know what people mean by the new car smell?
Absolutely, the new car smell.
Is it the same as a new baby smell? I don't know, I've not had a baby.
Well, I've not had a new car, better. So...
I don't know.
What's the most exciting journey you remember in that car? Probably the first one after you bought it.
really am an old lady. Used to go to Eastbourne in it sometimes. Yeah, even though I was only 28. Still go to Eastbourne sometimes.
Do you know there used to be a piece of graffiti on a road sign down that part of the world where it said, Dover for the continent, and someone had sprayed underneath, Eastbourne for the incontinent. We're going to move on to your next car. Sarah, you moved on after the Nissan Micra to the classic Volkswagen Golf.
Combining practicality, style, class and performance, the Volkswagen Golf has been the hatchback to beat for decades. That's literally tens of years. One of only 3 cars to be named European Car of the Year twice, she holds her value like no other road-going hatch. With well-weighted steering and excellent handling, she's just a terrific ride. Few are worthy of the term legend, but the Golf is one. Carlos Santana is another.
You like Golfs. This is your second. What do you like about them?
I like that I can park them. It was a little bit bigger than the Micra, but it felt kind of sturdier, and also it was black, and because the the Micra was red, that it felt quite sort of feminine, and this felt, I didn't get cut up anywhere near the amount as I had in the Micra when I got in the Golf, and it felt a bit more sort of androgynous, for want of a better word. It felt a bit more sort of sturdy, but also kind of small and nippy at the same time.
The Volkswagen Golf coincides with the time of your greatest professional success. I was reading an article from a 2013, tabloid article, admittedly, which said about you, the comedian, famous for her bright Geordie accent and garden fence philosophy, has bought a mansion with a library and garaging for 4 cars. I thought it was interesting, I think, because that's what you do, isn't it? If you make a bit of money, that's what you want, is a nice house. I mean, I got to the point where, you know, I won a poker tournament, I'm married well, now we've got a house, I'm done, I can do radio. But what I found interesting was that you obviously bought a very nice house, but not, I don't take this the wrong way, not a terribly flash car.
No, I don't. The first time I took my husband to look at the house, he said, as we drove up the drive, I bet this is the first time a Skoda Octave has ever been on this drive. What's the point? It's functional, it gets me where I want to be, it's got parking sensors, so it's quite flashy. I like parking sensors because it beeps and beeps, and then it is a flat line, which means you've killed a man.
And do you still drive around the country going to gigs, or are you sort of carried in a plush tour bus now?
Carried? Like lifted like this, like in someone's arms.
I think I'm imagining a sort of sedan chair.
I'd love that. No, when I'm on tour, I have a tour manager, and it's kind of a team, so he'll do the drive, and I do the show, and then he drives us back, and he does a lot of the other things as well, make sure that people can hear me and people can see me and all of these things. So he's vital. But when the tour's not on, I drive everywhere myself. I don't like taxis, that sounds awful. I'm just very controlling. And I think once I got the independence, I didn't really want to let it go, really. And like my car broke down once, the Micra, more than once. And there was one time I said to my husband, but it's my independence. And I was really, sort of reaching out. And he said, but don't worry, a man's going to fix your independence and give you it right back.
Let's go to the audience and see who has happy memories of a Volkswagen Golf. Where's Kate Fagarlo? Do you know my first boyfriend's mother was called Kate Fagarlo?
No.
Yes.
No. Oh, hello.
How old were you?
I was... This is not a cool age to be for your first boyfriend. 17. Do I want to hear your golf memories?
Is your story related to Victoria at all?
No. I couldn't tell you that.
No.
Do you know there'd be nothing? We got up to nothing. Hello, Kate. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Oh, very nice to see you. What are your memories of the Volkswagen Golf?
Well, as it happened, Dan didn't have that.
He never had a car. I did all the driving.
And I just be reminded of Christian having his first second-hand car.
This is your youngest son?
Yeah. And being driven round very erratically. No, it's quite terrifying, because you think he's going to get killed and he's going to kill you.
Well, thank you very much. It was lovely to see you.
It's lovely to see you too.
Oh, I sort of believe them a bit.
We must stop. I just want to ask you just this one last thing. The TV work is in London, but you don't want to move here. You want to stay where you consider to be home.
Yes.
So you must be doing more driving than ever now.
When I first started to drive, I would do sort of short bursts and feel exhausted. And I had calloused hands at one point. And I think I was holding the steering wheel too tight. My first driving instructor said I drove like a serial killer. Maybe he'd seen the bodies in the boot, I don't know. And the more hours you are in the driving seat, then the better driver you are, I always think. Driving to London and back is something I would absolutely do in a day. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I like it. It's almost like a little world that you can create yourself where you feel very comfortable and you've got snacks of choice. I mean, on the passenger seat of this car is fine.
We must bring things to a close, so we're going to drive away. I'm going to let you choose the music. What will be our driving music?
It's Bonnie Tyler, Holding Out for a Hero, which you can't play unless you're doing like 70. You can't play it like 50 because it's just a waste.
All right, well, we shall drive away at 70. Sarah Millican, you are cute, cuddly and affordable. You combine class, style and performance. Thank you for talking to me about cars.
Thank you.
Professor Greer, are you a good driver?
I think so. I don't ask other people whether they think I am or not. I had a funny run-in with the police in Oxford where they accused me of driving erratically. And I said, unwisely probably, how can I have been driving erratically? I've been in a queue for the last 15 minutes. It's hard to drive erratically in a queue, wouldn't you imagine? And they breathalyzed me. I was a bit surprised. There was no alcohol whatsoever on my breath. It was probably the only 5 minutes in that whole week where I had no alcohol on my breath. And then they announced that I could continue my drive home. It was late at night and I was tired, but not to do it again. But I wasn't sure what it was I was supposed to have done. So whatever it was, I didn't do it again. I don't think.
My father got stopped once for driving erratically, but it was in the 60s, and they thought he might be drunk. The policeman opened the door, and my father fell out onto the pavement. And they helped him back in and said, go straight home. Those were the days. A few quick-fire questions to warm us up. Have you ever been to a drive-in movie?
Yes.
What was that film?
I've no idea. I wasn't watching.
Have you ever watched Formula One?
Yes.
Why?
Because there was nothing else to watch.
Now let's talk about the cars in your life. At the moment, you're driving a Mercedes estate.
The Mercedes C-Class estate with sports trim is smooth and compliant. Her 17-inch alloy wheels, perfect for anyone whose priority is ride comfort. Indeed, the Sport comes with comfort suspension, not sport suspension, which doesn't come with the Sport. Her upright tailgate and low load mean she completely outboots the Audi A4 Avant. And with competitive CO2 emissions and robust resale value, you can certainly say that the Benz justifies the means.
You've been driving Mercedes estates pretty much non-stop since you were 50. You're now 77. Why the Mercedes estate? What is it you like about it?
It's a very boring car. I never meant to be a Mercedes-Benz driver. In fact, I regarded them as my natural enemies. But the thing I discovered about my Mercedes, which I probably shouldn't say, is that it never broke down. It bored me to extinction, but it never broke down. It was like marrying Mr. Right. And most of us are really secretly desperate to marry Mr. Wrong.
You once said, women don't buy sports cars, boats, jet skis or trail bikes. Obviously some do, but broadly, that they don't treat themselves to those things. Why didn't you buy yourself a car you find exciting? Why don't women do that?
Well, I've had lots of cars that were exciting, but for all the wrong reasons. I mean, they were very cheap, they were usually very old, and they broke down all over the place, and I learnt to drive them without the clutch, without the brake. I turned one little car over on a road in Italy when I was expected at someone's house for dinner. So I got out and turned it back the right way up again and got into it and drove off. And what I didn't understand was that I'd been carrying cement in the car in bags, and they always leak, you know. And so when I turned the car over, I got completely dusted with cement. So when I arrived at the house where I was expected for dinner, they screamed when they opened the door because I was the stone guest, the original stone unknown guest.
When I turn up at people's houses, they always scream when they open the door. But your argument in that speech was women don't buy sports cars because they can't allow themselves pure leisure. So women get their enjoyment from things like shopping and beauty treatments that are actually work.
Mm-hmm. I would stick to that now. Women don't think they're entitled to spend lots of money on having fun. And they won't take time off either. I hoovered every weekend from the time I was 4 to the time I left home when I was 17. I sang the whole time I hoovered. And I still do it. The other odd thing is whenever I'm up a ladder, I speak with an Irish brogue. I've never quite got that one either. We think it's an ancestor.
Are you speaking to anyone?
Oh, no, I'll just be fantasising about what I'm going to do with the room and the colour and stuff.
Well, the evening's taken an unexpected turn. Now, there isn't anyone in the audience who drives a Mercedes estate, but there are people here with memories of other types of Mercedes. Bridget Shersby, what are your Mercedes memories?
Well, the only time I recall being in a Mercedes was quite recently when I was treated for my 60th birthday to what was called a hot lap experience.
Hello. And was that enjoyable?
Hugely, yes.
Sorry, what is a hot lap experience?
Well, it involves driving, or being driven, not driving yourself, but being driven extremely fast around a racetrack, stopping very suddenly, skidding, and generally having a lot of fun.
Like being driven round Oxford by Germaine Greer?
Yeah, possibly.
Who bought you that present?
My husband.
Why did he think you would want that?
Because he knows I enjoy fast cars.
Oh, really? What do you drive?
It's a Peugeot 206.
Well, I mean, could this be... What do you think of the professor's theory that women don't treat themselves to pure leisure vehicles?
I think it's very accurate. I stick with my faithful Peugeot 206 because it gets me from A to B without any fuss, and I just couldn't justify spending a huge amount of money on something more exciting.
Well, this is completely your point, Germaine. Here is a woman who loves fast cars. She drives a reliable, sturdy car because she doesn't want to spend the money, and for her 60th birthday, for one day, she gets to rattle around in a fast car.
One way of looking at women's cars is to see them as shopping trolleys. It's all this labour, the time we spend, the sweat we emit, has no value whatsoever. But the crap we put in the trolley is worth a fortune.
I don't sweat. Let's go back to your childhood. The family car was always a Holden.
The 48215 Holden sedan is Australia's very own car. Developed after the war by former Sadler's GM Holden Limited, she's got a 2.5-litre six-cylinder engine and rear-wheel drive via a 3-speed manual transmission. She's not without luxury. She comes with vacuum-operated wipers and the option of AM radio. But she's crafted for the unique demands of the rugged Aussie landscape. And she makes American cars look like the pussies they are.
Was that your father's car? Did your mother ever drive it?
My mother didn't drive it. My father got her a Morris 1000, which I principally remember because she got bogged on Phillip Island, and not being terribly practical, my mama, she made me go round the back of the car and push while she ran the engine and spun the wheels. So I was unrecognisable for the next couple of hours. There was this mud-encrusted child sitting in the back seat.
Was your mother not practical? I thought she was a milliner.
Oh, so did she, but only for a minute. But only for a minute. She was apprenticed to be a milliner, but she left the iron on. So they sacked her.
Could you make a hat?
I have been known to make hats. They haven't resembled hats particularly, but they were what we might describe as headgear.
For your book, Daddy, We Hardly Knew You, which is about trying to get to know who your father was, his history and family, you rented a Holden and drove round Australia.
I do this all the time. I drive for days and days across miles and miles of unpaved road. If I ever did get into real strife, the police would be absolutely withering. They'd probably arrest me for stupidly driving without any of the necessary supports. You're supposed to have spare tyres, spare petrol tanks, spare this, spare that, spare the other, and I've generally just got a silk dress and the car keys.
You say that looking into family history is a dangerous thing. That big road trip, you were looking for the Greer family. What did you find?
I found that my father's name was a fraud. He was born in Tasmania, that his mother was an unmarried, probably servant girl. He was adopted by a woman who'd lost her baby, and she turned out to be an amazing foster mother. Her name is Emma Wise, and I truly, truly love and honour her, although I never met her.
Let's move on to your teenage years. You were 18 and there was a significant car in your life at that time, a Jaguar Mark V.
The Jaguar Mark V features the pushrod 6-cylinder overhead valve engine and a pre-war body style with upright chrome grille, updated to include faired-in headlamps, deeper bumpers and rear wheel spats. She's curvy and glossy, like a chocolate Labrador. Or a fat horse.
What was the significance of that car?
For those of us who grew up in the 50s, cars and sex were inextricably entangled. Because you couldn't have sex in any form. Well, basically you couldn't have sex, but you couldn't even get near it unless you had a car.
Right.
Which generally, if you were on a date, was kind of miserable because you thought, don't turn into the beachfront car park because I'll be fighting you off for hours. Just take me home. But in this particular case, the Mark V Jaguar drop head coupe, it's important that it's the drop head, is a beautiful, beautiful car. And it was also driven by somebody I found fairly irresistible.
Well, that helps.
So I said, OK, you win. But the tragedy of this is he turned up in the wrong car. He turned up in his father's Studebaker. Disgusting car.
Oh, so your thinking was he's going to get lucky as long as he turns up in the Jag?
No, he was going to get lucky because I gave him my word. I'm a woman of my word. So he got lucky in the Studebaker, which was a bit of a bugger. I mean, the wrong memory altogether.
Let's see who in the audience has fond memories of a Jaguar Mark V.
Really?
Bryony Morrison, what are your Jaguar memories?
I had we called her, she was my emergency grandmother. She wasn't actually a relation, but she lived very near and she had a very big house. And I used to play in her garden. And her husband was something big in the city. And she had this car. And we would it was a coupe as well. So we'd only take it out on sunny days. And she was a raging alcoholic. And we would sort of scream around the countryside, Berkshire. And whenever we went over little bumps, you know, you have those sort of rising bump over train tracks. She'd go so fast that the underneath of the car would scrape on the top of the hill, and we would laugh.
She does sound amazing. I like that of an emergency grandma who'll fly around in a Jag drinking at the wheel. Very unlike my grandma, I must say. Thank you very much. Jermaine, you didn't own your own car for a long time, not till you were 30, which at the end of the 1960s, and appropriately enough for that time, it was a Mini Cooper.
Winning the Monte Carlo Rally in 1964, 1965 and 1967, the Mini Cooper is a fizzy little mongoose of a machine. With a racing-tuned engine, twin SU carburettors and front-wheel drive, she's cuter than Lulu singing Mr. Bojangles, and needs just as little tuning. Ting!
Were you pleased to finally have a driving licence?
Well, I didn't have a driving licence when I first got that car. I got it for somebody else, someone who was living in my flat in Warwickshire who was about to have a baby. And I just was worried about how she was going to get to the shops and back and the pram. And so I bought the car for her, for Renee.
Renee was a student of yours. You were lecturing at the University of Warwick at the time, is that right?
Yeah.
That was very nice of you to buy her a car.
Well, I suppose I meant to use it too, but you have to understand the situation in the Midlands. We lived in Leamington Spa. The university was miles away on the edge of Coventry. There was supposed to be a bus service, but most of the time we waited in the rain and it didn't show up. And it was just essential to have a car. I was actually taught to drive by my students, but I didn't like the Mini Cooper much, though. It was a bit like a kind of jet-propelled armchair. You were very aware of the fact there was very little between you and anything coming at you.
Around this Mini time, were you married?
Oh, I was only married for 3 weeks.
Why have you never married again?
Because I married the first time and discovered it was hopeless. It was horrible.
You only gave it 3 weeks.
Oh, it was a matter of life and death. I wasn't going to hang about.
How long had you known the chap before you married him?
3 weeks. The whole affair took 6 weeks.
Were you drunk?
He was. And he thought I was. Look, he wasn't a total write-off. I mean, he did marry Maya Angelou.
He sounds rather amazing. I mean, he's got quite cool taste in women.
I seem to recall we spent a lot of time jumping in and out of taxis, which used to get very complicated because he was always drunk and the taxi drivers never wanted to pick us up. And so he would try and punch them through the window of the cab. It was not a pleasant 6 weeks. I thought it was all clear. I'd explained I'll go on earning my living, I will still be called my name, I will still be going to Warwick University on weekdays, and it was all agreed. Until after the dreaded documents were signed, and then it was all cancelled.
Let's talk to the audience about the Mini Cooper. Jane Manley, what are your memories of the Mini Cooper?
Well, very recently, my guide dog and I were offered a lift by a neighbour who has an old Mini Cooper as his pride and joy. We accepted, but of course in those days I don't think they factored guide dogs into footwells. So there was very little space, very hard suspension, and my guide dog was trying to be very small and Chihuahua-like, but she's a 26-kilo Labrador mix, so not succeeding terribly well. And in her stress was climbing further up and up my chest, trying to get her backside off this very rickety, rusty floor. Aww. And that, in turn, was raising my skirt and, unfortunately, showing my stocking tops to the lorry driver next door, who apparently was using his mobile phone to take pictures. So my neighbour now has refused to ever let us in the car again in case we get arrested for obscenity.
Sorry, did you take this journey inside a sitcom? Let me ask you this question. There's been a lot of talk since they've started inventing these automated cars and self-drive cars. There's a lot of talk that there will be blind drivers within a few years.
Sign me up.
Would you like to drive a car?
Absolutely, yeah. When I had sight, I used to ride motorcycles, so I would love to be the first one in a driverless car.
Where would you go in it?
Gosh, all over the place. I'd probably do Jermaine's road trip around Australia.
What about the spiders?
I've lived and worked in Australia, so I'm not scared of them. Besides, what you can't see can't hurt you.
Actually, spiders and driving are very funny in Australia. My car is now parked under the house, and it's prize spider accommodation. And the difficulty there is that you'll be driving the car quietly down the road, and a thing as big as your hand will appear on the windscreen, and what you don't know is which side is on. It's usually on the outside, but the next thing that happens is that as you gather speed, the spider tries to hang on, and the spider goes, ooh, and then finally the spider's gone, flying through the air. And it's only a poor old huntsman. They haven't even got mouth parts that can hurt you. They just happen to give me the screaming abdabs.
I'm never going to Australia. You moved on from the Mini Cooper to a series of Triumph Herald convertibles.
She may not be cutting edge, but many have desired the crisp Michelotti body of the Triumph Herald. Her independent rear suspension can make her dangerous to corner, but she's got a 10,000-mile grease servicing interval and a turning circle of less than 25 feet. By jingo, you can turn her in the singles section of a tennis court. Advantage Triumph. Love all. New balls.
The Triumph Heralds are a funny thing because I kept a Triumph Herald by me for years and years and years, even when I had other cars. I'm claustrophobic, so the idea of being in an open car for me is heaven. I'll drive through rain, hail.
Here's my concern with convertibles. Don't you worry that when you stop at a traffic light, someone will nick your handbag?
I don't carry a handbag.
What do you mean?
I don't. I noticed you brought your handbag on with you.
I literally have it in the bath.
Well, see, I think of a handbag as an external uterus, and I prefer not to carry it. I prefer to keep people guessing. The thing about having a Triumph Herald convertible is you go shopping in Bond Street and you pull up on the pavement and you dash into the shop and come out with the thing and just jump over the door and drive off before the traffic person has had a chance to fill out the piece of paper. It was another sort of shopping trolley.
OK, let's have a quick chat with the audience about the Triumph Herald. Audrey Fennell, you've had a Triumph Herald. Do you have it now?
No, I had it in the 60s. It was my first car when I passed my test. And I thought I was really super in this car because I took it to Pendine Sands to race along the sands, and I managed to get it up to 60 miles an hour, which I thought was fantastic. But the boot used to fill with water, so you could never use the boot, and the boot rusted away. But I thought this car was wonderful because it was bright red.
Perhaps if you hadn't raced it on the beach.
Exactly.
Actually, I once had to do any questions, and the car didn't turn up, so I had to jump into the Triumph Herald and head across to Oxford. I think it was in Oxford, and it was pouring with rain. And the Triumph Herald is not the most waterproof car, and it was actually splashing in my face. I arrived to do any questions literally sodden. But it's quite good fun.
Who else was doing the show?
Oh, who remembers?
We're going to jump back to the present because you have another car, as well as the Mercedes. You sometimes drive a Subaru.
Strongly built and reliable, with good off-road capacity, the Subaru Forester is for those who value function over fashion. Her low centre of gravity makes her dependable on rugged terrain, and she's certainly well spec'd. But her nose is a little pitchy, and her fiddly dashboard is as plastic as an ageing starlet's face.
Why do you have two cars? When do you drive the Subaru?
In Australia, the Subaru is my shopping trolley, and I sort of hate it.
How much time do you spend in Australia these days?
4 months a year. I generally go March, April, September, October. But now that I've sold my archive to Melbourne University, they tend to expect me to do chores. I've actually said I can't afford it, hoping they'll cough up. They'll cough up the fare, but they won't.
I mean, they spent $3 million on the archive.
$3 million what?
$3 million.
Ah, well, they might have. But they didn't spend it on me.
Do you feel happier in Australia or here?
I feel happy anywhere on Earth. I love Earth. I've never met a bit of Earth that I didn't love. I like my snakes. I sort of like my spiders. I just have to be stern with them. They're not allowed in the bedroom. They know that. And so they keep having a go, you know. They're funny, spiders. You shout at them, they'll flinch. They hear you, they see you. I think we've made big mistakes where animals are concerned. We think they don't have intelligence, and the truth is that they do. They don't think the way we do, but they think. And that's become more and more interesting for me. I spend a lot of time. I'm president of Bug Life, and that means that if I make a little bit of money hither or thither and I can afford to give it to Bug Life, I do. I've had to try to understand biology and its extraordinary ramifications now. And all this means like a sort of new life. I just don't think I'm going to get enough time to finish it. I think I'll still be a beginner. It'll be all over.
Haven't you spent your whole life trying to understand biology and its extraordinary ramifications?
Yep, I would say yes.
Before we stop, there's one last thing that I want to touch on from an article you wrote a few years ago, I think for Top Gear magazine. in which you said, women love cars in a very different way. They love their cars for doing what they want, for starting and stopping more or less when and where they should, for being helpful, protecting the children and sharing the load. And women are grateful to their cars just for being around. And that's so exactly what I meant this series to be about a way of loving cars that isn't really about its top speed and its carburettor, but a means of escape and comfort and refuge. Are your cars that for you?
Yep. But I think they are for women generally. I mean, where is the one place where when things are going really, really bad, you can scream and cry? I mean, how many women get into their car for a good cry? Because no one can nag at them about it, and it doesn't need to upset other people. It just means that you can unload. It's your special place. I love all the machines that work for me. When I first had a laptop, I typed in thank you when it helped me do something, and it said, do not understand, or something it said. I thought, you poor little thing, they haven't even told you I could say thank you. And I'm like that about my cars. I should get rid of the Mercedes that I'm driving now. I mean, it's very old, and it's begun to do funny things. And in a way, I'd quite like to dare it to break down, because it never, ever, ever has, and it has a right to one breakdown. But I don't think I can sell it. I think I'll have to just let it stay in the garage and maybe drive it round the orchard every now and then.
We are going to have to drive off into the sunset now. I'm going to let you choose our final piece of driving music. What's it going to be? What is your driving anthem?
Well, I think it has to be something by my good friend Frank Zappa. I guess it's going to be Cheap Thrills in the back of my car.
All right, we'll have Cheap Thrills by Frank Zappa. Jermaine Greer, you are strongly built with an independent chassis. You have the odd bump, but I think you are a beautiful, shining machine behind whom the rest of us drive, watching the direction you take, hoping we're still on the right road. Thank you for talking to me about cars.